Shalom. First off, I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Kadash. Yahweh being the true name for the Heavenly Father. Yahweh Shai being the name for His only begotten Son, who the world eagerly calls God, and Jesus Christ. We give double honor to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, that taught me the truth and rule well. And salutations to you, hopeful like pushing this truth in all honesty and sincerity. This is Yahweh Sab coming to you, no less the spirit power of Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai, another lesson in times of events and upcoming prophecies. Today's lesson number prophecy of World War III and nuclear destruction. This is updated news from a recent article from express.co.uk. It says World War III alert, terrifying moment. Russia fires deadly missiles in threat to the West. It says terrifying video shows the moment of the Russian military launched an upgraded Kh-35 Uran anti-ship cruise missile system into the ocean in a menacing World War III threat to the West. Tensions are increasing higher with all the things going on in the world, with all these trade wars and, people fighting over different territories and different positions in the oceans and lands and so on and so forth. And this is not just Russia that's making threats. You also got Iran. Iran general says country ready for full-fledged war with the United States. Okay, because the U.S., they basically want that land. All right, and in order to get to them, they're going to have to go through Russia. And this is prophecy within scriptures as far as specifically the country of Russia being drawn out to war against Babylon the Great, which the Babylon the Great is referenced within the scriptures. It's symbolic today of being America. Also, Mount Seir is symbolic of being America. Okay, Babylon, Mount Seir, Sodom and Gomorrah. There's a lot of parables and analogies referenced with the scriptures, which could be compared to this country living in today. And that's according to prophecy because of the visions that the prophets had. They didn't have the name America. They probably seen them and seen the name America in visions, but they didn't have that alphabet back then. So what they did is just describe what they knew, what they had at hand as far as their historical texts and what this place could be compared to. And that's why it's referenced as Babylon. You won't see America within the scriptures, but if you pay attention to the scriptures, especially the book of Obadiah, it's completely obvious it's talking about this place, this kingdom. Okay, and Iran is upset because of the attacks that the U.S. is doing. Since the attacks follow the weak similar drone attacks in the kingdom's oil infrastructure, but none of the earlier strikes to have caused the same amount of damage. The attacks likely would further increase tensions across the Persian Gulf amid escalating crisis between U.S. and Iran over its unraveling nuclear deal with world powers. It says Iran has stepped up its verbal attacks on the United States in reaction to President Donald Trump's nixing the 2015 nuclear deal and ramping up economic sanctions against the Islamic Republic. They're not going to stand for that. Okay? So you have all these things taking place, man. And the video that I opened up with was a video of a thermonuclear bomb. If you didn't know what a nuclear bomb is, it's the most powerful weapon on the planet, created by Esau. Okay, but the Lord gave Esau that knowledge. He sent that thought to Esau's mind to create this thing. And we can get that within the scriptures. But before we pull that out, I'm going to show a detailed video as far as what this weapon is capable of doing. Because there's actually a lot of people that have never heard of what a nuclear bomb is or what it does. They do teach you briefly in history in school when this type of weapon was used. And the history that was spoken about is the weapon that was dropped on Japan during World War II, on Nagasaki. That was an atomic bomb that was dropped, and it instantly killed like 150,000 people, I believe. I might be off with those numbers slightly, but it was over 100,000 people died like instantly. And then hundreds of thousands more died from burns and radiation and poisoning and stuff like that. All right, so I'm going to finish this video out, and then I'm going to bring another one real quick. Alright, so let me go through here. Here we go.
August 9th, 1945. The Nagasaki nuclear explosion. August 6th, 1945. The Hiroshima nuclear explosion. Since these World War II attacks, nuclear weapons have become even more powerful.
All right, let me rewind here real quick, because there was some points made in the video that I want to read off as far as the numbers of deaths.
August 9th, 1945. The Nagasaki.
All right, so the Nagasaki, which I referred to earlier, that happened August 9th of 1945. Okay, that nuclear explosion estimated deaths was 75,000 people. All right, so that's 75,000. In addition to that, take a look at the next numbers.
Nuclear explosion. August 6th, 1945. The Hiroshima nuclear.
All right, so then you had Hiroshima. So first you had 75,000 people that was killed. And then in addition to that, it was another 135,000 people that's killed. Now these numbers are roughly around, the amount of people that died almost instantly. That's a lot of death and destruction, man. Look at that city. Completely obliterated, man. And yes, this actually happened. Now that was all the way back in 1945. We are in 2019. And you know the technology today. Just imagine the amount of destruction of a modern day invented nuclear weapon went off.
Explosion. Since these World War II attacks, nuclear weapons have become even more powerful. The Hiroshima bomb produced an explosion of 15 kilotons. 1 kiloton equals the explosive power of 1,000 tons of TNT. If it was detonated in New York City's Times Square, this is what it would look like. The radius of the affected area would be almost a mile long. This yellow circle indicates the radius of the explosion's fireball. Within the red circle, fatalities are near 100%, and all concrete structures are damaged or demolished. Within the gray circle, most residential structures are destroyed, and there are massive injuries and fatalities. The orange circle indicates the area in which third-degree radiation burns occur. But the sheer destructive power of that explosion pales in comparison to the largest thermonuclear weapon currently in the United States arsenal, the B-83. Created in the late 1970s, the B-83 can produce an explosion of up to 1,200 kilotons, which is 80 times the Hiroshima explosion. That's the explosive power of 1.2 million tons of TNT. If dropped on New York City, the radius of the affected area would be over 7 miles. Then, there's the 1954 Operation Castle Bravo, the largest nuclear bomb ever tested by the United States. It produced a 15,000 kiloton explosion, which is over 1,000 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. If detonated in New York City, the radius of the affected area would be over 21 miles.
Can you imagine, man? 21 miles. Now that's Castle Bravo, man. 21 miles. Now, these countries got thousands of these things, man. Keep in mind, the orange circle is just how many people would be killed by just third degree burns, or being burned alive, burned to death, man. You see that? Almost that whole state is affected. Look at that big old chunk there, man.
But there's even one more powerful than that. On October 30th, 1961, the Soviet Union tested the Tsar Bomba.
Keep in mind, look at these dates, man. This was over 40 years ago. You think they haven't been building anything else since then? They'll lie to you and come up with all these treaties and saying that they haven't been making any new weapons. But look at North Korea, man, what they just did. They just got a hold of this tech. They just started making nuclear bombs. And their technological advance. They got computers and shit. You know they've been keeping making these weapons under the radar, man. Which means the shit they got now is nothing compared to, what it was back then. It's way more stronger now.
It is the most powerful weapon ever detonated. It produced a 50,000 kiloton explosion. That's 3,300 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb.
Keep in mind, the Hiroshima bomb killed 135,000 people. This bomb, the Tsar Bomba, what the Russians have created, is 3,300 more times powerful than that. So just do the math on that. 3,300. Hold on, man. Let me see if I can let's see if I can get a calculator out for this. Oh shoot. Alright, so if I do the math here, so lock you for the screen rotation. So 3,300, alright, times 135,000 people. This gives you an idea of roughly how many people would die off of that one bomb. Are you seeing this? 445,500,000 people would die off of that one bomb. That's one bomb, man. In World War III, there's going to be an arsenal of these things unleashed.
The mushroom cloud was so tall that it dwarfed anything on Earth. If dropped on New York City, the radius of the affected area would be over 31 miles. The Tsar Bomba was created over 5 decades ago. Today, there are an estimated 14,900 nuclear weapons in the world.
Alright, so we just did the math off of one Tsar Bomba. But they've estimated 14,900 nuclear weapons in the world. That's just nukes. That's not to count the regular missiles. Then you have hundreds of thousands of millions of regular missiles in addition to the nukes. And regular missiles cause mass amount of destruction. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, man, this stuff is in the scriptures. It's in the Bible. And we're going to read about it.
If not for the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty of 1963, we might have even more powerful bombs today.
And you can guarantee that they do. Don't listen to these damn treaties that they do. That's bullshit. They just come up with that shit so they can have an excuse of doing as much as they want to under the radar, man. So we're going to read about this technology within the Bible. And this is actually what is referred to as the lake of fire when you read about that within the scriptures. Because when the bomb goes off, it actually creates a lake of fire. A big-ass ring of fire just follows the bomb, as you're seeing within the radius. This is 2nd Esdras 16, verse 13. For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss, when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. Obviously, somebody shooting one arrow is not strong enough to fire that arrow from one end of the world to the next. So what are they talking about? Okay? What could they possibly be talking about? Well, let's get an idea of what arrows look like as they're flying. Alright, so here's some pictures of what arrows look like when they're in flight. Okay? You see? Alright, then you pay attention to the construction of the arrow, the parts of it. You have the arrowhead, the tip, then you have the shaft, and you have the fins to stabilize it in flight. Now, when looking at that, the way the Bible is written, it's written by visions and prophecies that the Lord gave the prophet. Gave the prophets visions, meaning they had dreams or sometimes daydreams about the certain things that the Lord was speaking to them with. They did not have thermonuclear missiles 2,000 years ago. So if you put yourself in the prophet's position If you're getting a vision from the Lord and you see something flying in the air that you cannot explain, you don't have it in that time frame that you're living 2,000 years ago, what is the best reference you can use to explain what you're looking at? Everyday items being used, which arrows are used every day. Okay? Now, when you look up missiles flying, look how strikingly resemble they look to arrows. Would you not use an arrow as a describe, you write down in the book of what you're seeing? You have to write down something for people to read in the future to know what you're talking about. It's symbolism, parables, analogies, okay? It's how the Bible is written. It has to be written that way because it was written 2,000 years ago. Okay, that looks like an arrow, man. Okay? Now, another thing I want to bring up here. Let's play this video real quick.
Slow laptop? Shh. How about one that boots up fast? It's switching time. How's that for fast? Switch to booting up as fast as 6 seconds. Switch to Chromebook.
The missile knows where it is at all times. It knows this because it knows where it isn't. By subtracting where it is from where it isn't, or where it isn't from where it is, whichever is greater, it obtains a difference or deviation. The guidance subsystem uses deviations to generate corrective commands to drive the missile from a position where it is to a position where it isn't, and arriving at a position where it wasn't, it now is. Consequently, the position where it is now the position that it wasn't, and it follows that the position that it was is now the position that it isn't. In the event that the position that it is not the position that it wasn't, the system has acquired a variation. The variation being the difference between where the missile is and where it wasn't. If variation is considered to be a significant factor, it too may be corrected by the GEA. However, the missile must also know where it was.
Alright, so what he's describing is the missile guidance system on how that works. Okay? It's programmed to know exactly where it's going to go and hit its target, its intended target. These are all built with missile guidance systems. Okay? It's right there, towards the tip of the missile. You see the anatomy, the construction of it? Now we go back to the scriptures. For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. That's why they won't miss. They're going to be guided directly to their intended targets. And the Lord is actually going to use the angels to assist and make sure they hit their intended targets. Okay? Now, the way that nuclear bombs work is the technology uses uranium and radiation to cause different atoms to clash into each other. And when an atom hits another atom, it creates a massive amount of energy, force, and heat. That chain reaction from that atom breaking apart, the pieces from that hit other atoms, and it keeps going until it creates a giant explosion. When that explosion happens, the elements begin to melt. Now we'll read this precept here in 2 Peter 3:10. But the day of Yahweh will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. This is also going to be taking place with those arrows, okay, that we're reading about. Alright? The elements melting with fervent heat. What has the ability to do that? A thermonuclear bomb. More further proof, nuclear bombs within the Bible. Revelation 6:14. And the heaven departed as a scroll, when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island removed out of their places. Let's get a visual on how a scroll looks when it's rolling. Okay. Alright, see how that scroll rolled? I can get another quick animation. Alright, notice that spiral there? That's created from that scroll rolling. This animation is showing you of how a scroll operates. Alright, it's very simple. I mean, you've all seen a scroll rolling up. You see? Alright, so that's how a scroll rolls. Now, if we bring up the anatomy of a thermonuclear cloud, check it out. See that cloud rolling? As a scroll. This is what the prophet was seeing. He's describing what he's looking like. They said they didn't have thermonuclear clouds back then. So what else could he use to describe what he's looking at? Okay? Play this video again of the bomb going off and pay attention to the clouds. Okay? The fire is folding within itself. It's rolling as a scroll. Okay? I believe there was a preset for that. I'm trying to see, Salaki, if I can find it. If not, we have more. Oh, here we go, right here. All praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. This is Ezekiel 1 and 4. It says, "And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and fire enfolding itself, and brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof, as the color of amber, and out of the midst of the fire." All right, now this is mostly describing, the chariots coming in, but still, this is it's still symbolism, as far as, how prophets use what they use back then to try to describe what the best they can, what they're looking at, what they're seeing, and we're seeing that fire folded within itself. That's how the chariots are going to come back looking. But nevertheless, we read the other precept we had out here. Okay, the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. You see the clouds move out the way from that bomb going off? It says, "And every mountain and island were moved out of their places." When that bomb hits, it creates an actual earthquake. It causes the tectonic plates to shift and move from the vibrations. So nothing's going to be the same after these things hit. The continents will completely shift. There's going to be so many going off at one time. Zechariah 14 and 12, "And this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand up upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth." Now, the best example for this is in the movie Terminator. The bomb that went off. You see what happens to the lady holding the fence. All right, we're going to play it real quick. You see that? Okay? Their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. Let's get another precept on the lake of fire, because you even see that in that scene. Revelation 20:15, whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. If you want to be in that book of life, you got to keep the law, statutes, and commandments and be an Israelite. Okay? To be protected from the destruction. This is Jeremiah 51:1. It says, thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will raise up against Babylon, and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind. Okay? That destroying wind represents that wind of all that stuff flying from the debris from the explosion. Let's get some more precepts out here that go into it. This is 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter. Verse 39. It says, and strong winds shall arise from the east, and shall open it, and the cloud which he raised up in wrath, and the star stirred to cause fear towards the east and west wind shall be destroyed. The great and mighty cloud shall be puffed up full of wrath, and the star, and they that make the earth afraid, and them that dwell in. And they shall pour out over every high and eminent place a horrible star. That star is that star where it's going to be seeing that light from the missiles coming from the sky, man. Fire and hail and flying swords and many waters, and all fields may be full, and all rivers with abundance of great waters. And they shall break down the cities' walls, mountains, hills, trees of the wood and grass, meadows, and their corn. And they shall go steadfastly into Babylon, and make her afraid. Okay? The destroying wind, man. The stars shall fall. The prophet to see the missiles coming from the sky and describe them as falling stars. You know? Second Esdras 16 and 15. The fire is kindled, and shall not be put out, till it consume the foundation of the earth. The Lord has already got it set up, man. Okay? It's going to be great burning. Alright, this is Isaiah 54 and 16. It says, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. I have created the waster to destroy. So the Lord actually gave Esau, the wicked, this thought on how to create this massive weapon. Because ultimately the Lord gave Esau that blessing, which is a sword. He did receive a blessing from his father. You know, Jacob received the blessings of the kingdom of heaven and rulership. Esau received the blessing of the sword. So that is his blessing, his birthright, to have the greatest weapons on the earth. But he created that waster to destroy the wicked. And ultimately destroy the wicked themselves. Okay, Esau is going to use his sword against his own self, man. This is Jeremiah 50:14. It says, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about. All ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she has sinned against Yahweh. So all the countries will shoot against America, and they won't spare any of their arsenal. They're going to load everything they got. Nuclear bombs, missiles, bullets, you name it. Jeremiah 15:22, a sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. And that's why we're seeing all these countries at ends with each other. China getting involved with trade war, been at the trade war with the U.S. for a while now. They're making threats. Iran making threats. Russia's making threats. North Korea's making threats. Then amongst those countries, they have other countries making threats to those countries. You got Israel getting involved. Okay? It's Ezekiel 38:4. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. I will bring thee forth in all thine armies and horses, and all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers, shields, and all of them handling swords. Alright, this is talking about Gog and Magog. Okay? And they Ezekiel 30:3, and say, thus saith Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, all Gog, chief priests of Meshech and Tubal. The region of that's located today is Russia. It's spiritual that we see in this article here of this World War III alert. Okay? Russia firing deadly missiles in threat to the West. Ultimately, you can't escape. You know, I'm not gonna let that ad play out, but you get the point. You get the picture here. And it seems like every month or so, it's getting more and more worse, man. The ICBM missiles, intercontinental ballistic missile, man. Okay, you see all the different types here, all these different arrows. This is going to be the ultimate judgment of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Revelation 14:9, and the third angel followed him, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of wrath of Yahweh, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone, in the presence of the holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascended up for ever and ever. They have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. That's to take the mark of the beast, the RFID microchip implant. That's coming too. And for those that take it, they will taste of that thermonuclear destruction. See that lady in Terminator getting burned up? You'll be in that radius of that explosion where you won't die instantly. You'll suffer from that fire. You'll burn to death, man. And even if you are in a radius of instant death, the Lord can preserve you and make you feel that pain, because we just read it. Okay? Shall be tormented in the presence of the angels. And the smoke of their torment ascended up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Even you, those that don't have the RFID chip in your hand, those of you that worship the beast and his image, you're gonna taste of that fire, man. Those of you that worship America and its philosophies and love it, that worship this sin, the Lord said He can make you feel that torment forever and ever, man. It's a long time, a long set period of time, which the Lord will deem. So, the Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. This is just to show you the power of prophecy within the Bible. And all these things are in the scriptures and true. I'll read this precept real quick in Matthew 24:6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. These wars have to come to pass, okay? Things have to take place, the order which the Lord set up for things to happen before He returns. And the thermonuclear war is one of the things that will happen before He comes back. In the midst of that nuclear destruction, He will be delivering His hopeful elect in the 1/3 from that fire. For those of you that are wicked, you will taste and you will die suffering a torturous, grievous death on this side. And anybody that wakes up, if you're a heathen, you're waking up into slavery. If you're an Israelite, you're waking up either everlasting joy and happiness or everlasting shame. Make your choice. So with that, I'm going to close out. Give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Akakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, a great millstone on top of this truth and rule well. Salutations to you, hopeful light pushing this truth in all honesty and sincerity. Shalom.